Hi students, this is Mrs. Girot, and I just wanted to give you a chance to see the answers to test 1, Blender Basics, and give you one more opportunity to go in there and try taking that test again. So just going to go through these questions with you one at a time. Here we go. Question number 1, what is the number pad shortcut to see the front view? If you're not sure, open Blender, delete the cube, center your cursor, add a mesh monkey, and try the shortcuts below on your number pad. So the options are 1, Control 1, 3, Control 3, 7, and Control 7. Let's see. So here we are. It said open up Blender, which I have, right click to select your cube, click X to delete it, hit Shift and S at the same time to move your cursor to the center, and then you can go to your Create tab and add a mesh monkey, or you can go down to your Add tab and add a mesh monkey here, or I think Shift A will allow you to add a mesh monkey. So however you decide to do it. And you can use your scroll button to scroll in or scroll out. And now the question was, what shortcut is going to give us the front view? You'll know you're in the front view because you'll be looking at Suzanne the monkey's face. So I'm going to start with the first option, which was a 1. And lo and behold, I'm in front view. I'm going to go ahead and try the other ones. Control 1, and you have to use the 1 on your number pad, is the back view. 3 is the left or side view, and Control 3 is the right or side view. 7 is the top view, and Control 7 is the bottom view. So practice those. So you should be able to answer question number 1 now. Question number 2, what is the number pad shortcut to see the top view? Oh, we just went through those. If you can't remember them, practice the shortcuts again. I know you'll get it. Question number 3, what is the number pad shortcut to see Suzanne's left side view? Oh, I know you can figure that one out. Remember, when we talk about the left, it's just like you, if you are inside of your body, which side of your head is your left? And which side is your right? So when you answer this question, make sure that you're talking about Suzanne's left from being inside Suzanne's body. Question number 4, what is the number pad shortcut to see the back view? Excellent, go through those shortcuts if you don't remember. Question 5, what is the number pad shortcut to see the bottom view? Good job, I know you can do those. Question 6, how do you select an object? Oh my goodness, I just did that. Let's see. If you hit A, that will deselect, and if you hit A again, A is select all. So if I have everything deselected here, let's just go ahead and add a couple more things here. Let's say I've got a cube in my picture, and I've got a cone in my scene. All right, let's see. If I want to select the cube, what do? Right click. Remember, if you try left clicking, you can sit and left click all day. All it's going to do is put your cursor down. It's not going to select anything. So right click to select. Question 7. What keyboard shortcut allows you to delete an object? Let's assume it's already selected. So if I want to delete the cone now that it's selected, what's the shortcut? X, right there, shows you. Now a really cool feature also on Blender is the spacebar. So I'm going to hit the spacebar right now, and when you hit the spacebar, it brings up search. So you can search for delete, and it will tell you that to delete an object, you click the letter X. There's the shortcut. Question 8. What keyboard shortcut allows you to make an object larger or smaller? Well, that's called scaling. When you make an object larger or smaller, you're scaling. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't have a shortcut for scale on here. That's okay. Sometimes things are not always going to show up, apparently, in the search, but the shortcut to scale, since it's scale, is S. So since I have my, I'm going to go ahead and select Suzanne by right-clicking, and I'll hit the letter S. And all I have to do is move my mouse, and it scales her, okay? The other way to scale is down here in the transformation manipulator titled Scale, and that will give you these scaling handles where you can scale the Z axis only, or you can scale the X axis, or if you hold down your middle mouse button and revolve for a little bit, you can scale the Y axis. All right. And let's say I'm hitting Control Z right now to go back. I'm going to hit 1 for front view again. So if you're wanting to scale the whole thing, the easiest way is just to hold down S and move like that. You can also use your transformation tool over here in your properties box with the scale here. So you can also use these. You can just click and drag. And that way you can be really precise. Let's say if I really want the X to be exactly 2, and I want the Y to be exactly 1, and I want Z to be 1 as well. So you can be very specific about scaling here. You can be specific about rotating. If I want to rotate her around the Y axis 90 degrees, I can do that here. So don't forget about that properties box. That's what that's for. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit X and delete this monkey real quick, and I'm going to hit X and delete this cone, and X and delete this. And if I'm going to go back and hit Control Z really quick and bring them all back on there and show you how A works. If I hit A, it deselects. If I hit A again, it selects them all. And can I hit X and delete them all at one time? Absolutely. Okay, so the other way that you can scale things, I just wanted to show you that you do have that one-time feature where you're going to get some controls here when you add something. So let's add a monkey, and let's look down here and notice, oh, this one's not allowing you to scale it, but it will allow you to change the location precisely where you want it and rotation precisely where you want it. It will allow you, yeah, oh, there we go. By changing the radius, you can scale it here. And then, of course, remember that once you do anything else, that disappears. Now, when I pull up my torus, I get that one-time only feature here, and I can also scale it this way, so I can decrease the number of segments. And this is called low poly, and this came up with a student recently who had created their turkey and their computer was freezing every time they tried to animate it. And it might be because it might have been too high poly. Like the more segments you have, the more high poly it is. And you'll notice up here in the right hand corner, it tells you that you have 1,635 vertices, 1,628 faces, and 3,224, I'm not sure what tris stands for, but it could be triangles. I'm not sure, but I don't see any triangles there. But you want to try to make it so that your faces is as low as possible, so that when you're rendering and animating and doing things like that, your computer's not overloaded. So that's why this is actually a very nice feature to have and take advantage of. Don't create any more geometry than necessary in order to do your design. So do it enough that it looks pretty good, but that's good enough for the purposes of this class. Now, if you end up getting a super high processing computer and you have the potential to go high poly, that's awesome. Question number 9. What keyboard shortcut allows you to rotate an object? Oh man, clue, GRSX. What do you think it's gonna be? Well, if you guessed R, you're probably right. So I'm gonna just go ahead and click R. We can find out. Does it work? It does. It works. Okay, so is it rotating? If you look over to the right at this rotation, notice what's rotating. Are all the X, Y, and Z values rotating, or is it isolating just one? Oh, it's rotating them all. Let me hit R again. If you hit R a second time, then it gives you a different way of rotating it. So remember, R one time, R a second time. Okay, so sometimes I'm just going to right click so I don't change that. Sometimes it's best if you're going to rotate to isolate the axis that you're wanting to rotate it around. Now if I go like this, I can see that if I'm trying to rotate it around the Y axis, the green axis, I can go 90 like that. I can go -30 if I want to rotate it like in the negative direction. I can. So you can go positive and negative on those. When it comes to using your shortcut R, I'm just going to hit Control Z. When it comes to using shortcut R, you can isolate which axis that you're rotating around just by typing in that axis. So you can go R, Y, and it'll rotate around Y. Or I can go R, X, and it'll rotate. Whoops, that one didn't work. Let's try it again. R, X. And then you'll notice it's rotating just around the X axis. Or I can say R, Z, and it'll rotate just around the Z axis. Question 10. What keyboard shortcut allows you to move or translate an object? So to translate, remember, from geometry means to slide. Okay, there's, by the system of elimination, really it's got to be G, right? Because we've already done the rest of them. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when I hit G. I'm just going to hit G and then move my cursor around, okay? So when I'm doing this kind of thing, I might want to isolate it on the X axis, or I might want to isolate it on the Y axis. So I just hit X and Y. I can hit Z and isolate it on the Z axis. So I don't have to keep on hitting the G over again. Once I'm going to right click to drop it and leave it where it was. I just hit G and then Z. And if I change my mind and want to go with X, then I just hit the X. If I change my mind and go with the Y, then I just hit the Y. Okay, I can also do that same thing. I'm going to right click to release it, and I can hit G, and let's say I want it to move anywhere except for the Z direction. So I hold down Shift and click Z at the same time, and when I do that, you'll notice that I can move it anywhere along the XY plane, but it will not go up and down. Okay, cool. And then wherever you want it, just drop it with your left click. Question 11. What keyboard shortcut allows you to pan up and down along the Z axis? Let's take a look. Up and down along the Z axis. Let's see. That would be, is it Shift? Okay, so Shift and scrolling at the same time, holding down Shift will make it go up and down, and holding down Control and scrolling from left to right. But just scrolling makes it go left to right. So hopefully that answered your question. Number 12, which number pad shortcuts allow you to rotate up and down around Suzanne's head? Is it 4 and 6 or 2 and 8? Let's find out. So just gonna select Suzanne's head by right clicking and hit number 1, and I'm gonna hit the dot on my number pad. The dot will center whatever I have selected in the screen for me. And now I'm going to just go ahead and hit 4 on the number pad, a couple of just hitting 4 and hitting 6 now to make it go the other way, and I'll hit 1 to bring it to front view again, hit 8, and oh look, and 2, and that's rotating around the top of her head. So which number pad shortcuts allow you to rotate up and down around Suzanne's head? All right, that was the answer. Question 13, which number pad shortcuts allow you to rotate left and right around her head? So you just did those. Which number pad shortcut allows you to zoom out? Is it plus or minus? I'm gonna hit 1 for front view, and I'll try hitting the, I think you have to, yeah, let me click here. Plus. Oh, it's not working for me at all. I'm not sure why. If I scroll, I have functioning plus or minus keys, but for some reason, it might be because I'm making a video. Yeah, it works if I hold down Control and hit the plus and minus at the same time. So if your plus and minus isn't working, just hold down Control while you do it, and that should work. Worked for me. All right, so what is the keypad shortcut to add a mesh? Well, we kind of did that one already, didn't we, earlier? Is it A? No, that deselects or selects all. Is it Shift A? It is. Look, it allows me to add a mesh. Very good. Number 17, what is the keypad shortcut to duplicate an object? Let's see, I'm going to guess Shift D, but I always want to check to make sure. So I'm going to hit A to deselect everything, and I'll right click to select Suzanne, and then I'll hold down Shift D, and now move your mouse. Look, you got another one. So you got to set it down somewhere. Remember, you can isolate the movement along the Z axis by just clicking on the Z, or the X axis by clicking on the X, or the Y axis. And you can't see what's happening because it's going front and back along the Y axis. You can't see it back there. But if I were to grab my middle mouse button, go like this, and now I hit G and Y, you'll be able to see that duplicated monkey. Yay. Moving, translating along the Y axis. And now why is it getting smaller in the distance and getting closer? Because we're in perspective mode. Remember, perspective means that when objects get further off into the distance, so hitting G and Y again, just G and then Y, you'll notice that objects get smaller as they go into the distance and larger as they come into the foreground. So that's what perspective mode means. Remember, you can switch out of perspective mode by hitting your 5, and that will put you in orthographic mode. In orthographic mode, the objects are always the same size. So if I hit G and Y and I move it back and forth, you'll notice that it does not show me the perspective view. So, question number 18. What is the keypad shortcut to center your cursor? Oh, hopefully you know this one. To center your cursor at the origin, I'm just going to hit A and select all. Just hit it twice and hit X and delete all of those so I can see where the origin's at. And what would be the shortcut? Is it A, Shift D, or S? Well, A doesn't do it. Shift A allows me to add things. Shift S, look, cursor to center. And then my cursor ends up in the perfect center so that when I add something like a cylinder, it's right there at the center. Right now I can tell that my handles are in scaling mode. And if I want to just be able to translate it, I want those arrows. So I'm going to go down here and switch it to the transformation manipulator translate. And then I can use these to slide it up and down. And look over here. Look over here in my properties panel. Notice that Z is isolated. It's just moving in the Z axis. Okay? And I can make it so that X is isolated or Y is isolated. And I could manually go in here and say that I want my Z value to be 1.1. Or I could say that I want X to be 0 and Y to be 0. Let's see what happens. 1.1 is just hovering above the XY plane. Maybe 1.1 is too much. Maybe I just want 1.01. And then it's just above the plane, but not quite intersecting with it. That's nice. So I can go ahead and do Shift S. Oops. Shift S and put my cursor to the center again, and I can add a plane and hit S and expand my plane. Okay, same thing with my plane. I can move that up a little bit just above the axes so that I don't see the grid underneath anymore. Excellent. Perfect. Okay. What is the keypad shortcut to deselect everything? Well, hopefully you know that at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So right now I have the plane selected. You can tell it has the orange around it. So if I hit A, it deselects. If I hit A again, it selects everything. If I hit A, it deselects everything. Number 20, what mode do you need to be in to select the entire object using your right mouse button? Object mode or edit mode? Ooh, what's that? Well, here's object mode. Okay, and if I'm going to right click on that. If I hit tab, theoretically, it's going to switch to edit mode. If I hit tab again, it goes back to object mode. I had to keep on clicking on my screen. There we go. Now it's going back and forth. Tab, 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 edit, object, edit, object. Okay, so object modes means that we're looking at the entire object as a whole. Okay, so that's when I can right click and select it. And edit mode is when if I right click, because of the fact that I'm on vertex select, I will only select a vertex, or I can move it to edge select, and I'd only be able to select an edge, or I could do face select, and I'd be able to select a face. Of course, when you hold down shift, that allows you to select more than one face, and so I could move those faces out. And create a whistle. That's cool. Question 21. What mode do you need to be in to use vertex select, edge select, and face select? Well, we kind of talked about that. You won't be able to do those things in object mode because when you right click, you can only select the entire object. Okay? But if you go into your edit mode, that's when you can select only a vertex, for example. And then, of course, you can move that vertex. So you can have some fun with these things. Select one corner of a cube and drag it out. What selection method would I use? Okay, so I want to select one corner and drag it out. Am I going to be in vertex select, edge select, or face select? All right, well, let's go ahead and hit A. I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to deselect. Am I in the right mode? Let's go into solid mode. I'm going to deselect this by hitting, or I'm going to select it and hit X and delete it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do Shift S and bring my cursor to center. I'm going to add a cube and I'm going to bring it up above the base, and let's just see here. Click on my transform so I can see that, and I'm going to go Z would be 1.01, and that'll be making it so that it's just sitting right on the surface there with that plane. And I just want to grab a corner. So the first thing I have to do is get out of object mode because I can't select just a corner when I'm in object mode. So let's go to edit mode. Do you remember how to get back and forth? You can just hit tab. Tab will take you to edit mode. And I'm going to make sure that I'm on vertex select because I just want a corner or a vertex. Excellent. And then I can hit G to grab and move that. You'll notice over in your properties panel, you can also change that if you want to be very specific about where you move it. So I might have to do some negative. So I might have had to have gone -2 in the Y direction and -2, there we go, in the X direction to get it to pop out in that way. So positives and negatives. Don't forget there's 2 directions on the axis. Question 23. If I want to select the entire top of Suzanne's head and drag it out to create room for a bigger brain, what selection would I use? So let's see here. If I just want to keep it simple, I'm going to go back into object mode so I can select the whole object and hit X and delete it. And then let's make sure my cursor is in the center by hitting Shift S, and let's create a monkey. And I'm just going to go ahead and lift her up so that she's above the horizon. And what am I trying to do? I just want to select the top of her head and lift it up. So I'm actually going to go into edit mode, and I am going to go to face select, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to hold down shift, 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 and I'm just going to grab those faces on the top of her head and then lift them up to make room for her brain. Ta-da! Excellent. 24. If I want to create a triangular prism or a wedge from a cube, what selection method would I use? So essentially all I'm doing is grabbing that edge and lowering it. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go into object mode so that all of Susanna is selected, and I can hit X and delete that. And let's go ahead and add a cube, and I'll bring that up, and I'll make sure that the bottom of it is at 1.01, so it's just on the horizon or on the surface here. And I am just wanting to grab an edge, so I can't do that in object mode. Remember, I can only select the whole object in object mode, so I need to go into edit mode, and then I need to make sure that I have edge select. And I'm going to right click on that edge, and then all I have to do is drag that down. And look at the Z value of that changing. I can actually change that precisely to 1.01. Oop, nope. What would it be? Negative 1.01? There we go. Negative 1.01. We'll put it right on that spot. Now, let's go ahead and let's see. When I did that, did those two vertices merge, or do I still have, yep, I still have two. Look at, and I accidentally grabbed the bottom vertex, and now I'm starting to create an issue, aren't I, in a later lesson. But if I want those two edges to snap together, then I'm going to activate something called snapping, which is this snap during transform. It's this magnet. So I want to turn that on. And then this one right here says automatically merge vertices move to the same location. So I'm going to just bring this, oops, it's the other one. There we go. There's that edge. I'm going to make it so that, let's click here. This one right here, I want to snap it to an edge. Be specific about what you want to snap it to here. I'm going to snap it to the closest edge. And this right here is snap onto itself, edit mode. Okay, but what I really want is this automatically merge the vertices when they're moved to the same location. So I'm going to click on that to make sure that's on. And now when I just go to grab this and move it down, it is going to snap to that edge, and those two edges are going to merge and become one. Uh-oh. That would have happened if this edge right here had been, oh, did you see it just snap? It snapped. Now watch. Oh, they didn't merge. What happened? Oh, look at, they merged. Okay, so it just took a second there. Now those edges are one, and look at that. I can actually make a different type of triangle with different angles, but now I have snap on, and it's like snapping down, and I'm not liking that. It's not giving me the control that I want, so I can just turn off the snapping, and now I can slowly move that how I want. And I can also hold down shift. Shift slows down the movement so you can get really precise. And of course you can always just go over here and do 0.5. Surprisingly, that's not quite in the middle, is it? How about 0.75? Oh, that's too high. 0.4. Well, maybe it's just the view that I'm in. Uh-oh. But that looks pretty good. Nice. And then you can rotate it around the Y axis. Oop, doesn't want to rotate for me. Oh, you know why? Because look what I have selected. Oh, be careful, kids. Right click if you make a mistake, and you can also do Control Z. Okay, so I need to go back into object mode. See, this is an example of when edit and object mode are so important. If I want to edit that whole object, I have to select the whole object in edit mode. Now I can hit R, and I can rotate around the Y axis. There we go. Ding. And notice over on the properties channel, see over here, see the Y? Where do I want that to be? I want it to be at 90 degrees. So I can actually just type in 90 and hit enter, and it'll automatically change it to 90 degrees. So perfect. Now it's sitting right there. Looks like a little tent. Oh my goodness, how cute. You can make a tent. Love it, you guys. Question 25. What properties editor type would I use to add color to an object? Would it be scene, world, material, or modifiers? Okay, so let's say I want to color my plane. I'm going to right click on my plane, and let's move this over a little bit so I can see them all. So remember, if you hover over them, you've got render, layers, scene. Is scene going to have color? No. What about world? No. What else was there? Object? No. Object constraints, modifiers. Oh, modifiers are pretty cool though. Take a look at those. Have fun with those sometime. Data? No. Well, it's material. Might seem so obvious. So you're just going to click the plus, and then you're going to go new, and you can type this as the ground. Ooh, I've got my shift on. Caps lock. Ground. Hit enter. And when you scroll down, this gives you a preview, and you can just hit diffuse. That's going to be the surface color of it, and then just grab this and move it around, and you can make your nice green ground. And if you are wanting to make it more of a foresty color, you can come over here and make it a darker shade. Okay, nice. And then you also can change the color of your tent. So I'm going to right click on my tent. And if this happens and you don't see anything, it's because your slider's way down here. You just need to slide up, click add, new, and we'll call this tent. Okay, and we'll scroll down and let's pick a color for the tent. That's a cute color. I like that one. And then you can change the color of the reflection. Or not the, the reflection if you want to. Maybe I'll just go orange. I don't know how that's going to look. And let's go into rendered and take a look and see what that looks like. It's all right. It's not too excited. Go back into materials mode. Material, okay. Let's go into, take a look at this lamp that we have. It's not really creating a shadow or anything. So when I click on my lamp and I come over here, okay, I think I just figured out what I was trying to get to. These down here, for some reason, I guess I'm just not used to having that preview up there. So you can try these different lamp types out. So let's look at point, sun, and I'm going to put it in rendered mode while I do it so that I can see what it's going to look like. So I'm in rendered mode and I can change this lamp type. Ah, that is so cool. If I want to add color to just one face of the cube, what mode do I need to be in? Oh, just one face. Just one face. Let's see. I have to go back into my 3D view, and I'm going to select my tent and hit the dot on my number pad so that it zooms in for me. And I want to go back into edit mode, and let's say I just want to select this front face. Well, in order to do that, I have to be in face, select, so I right click and select that face. I did show you guys something called E extrude in another video. I'm going to go ahead and do that E, and I'm going to extrude, but I want to extrude that, no, okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit E extrude and then just left click it there and hit S, and I can scale it, but let's isolate where let's see, how is it scaling? Is it doing good? Yeah, it seems to be scaling pretty good. I can move it down now, and that could be my little door of my tent, and let's say I want to color that its own color. So going into colors, and I'm going to add a new, and I'm going to call this the door, and I'm going to change the color of this to, what would be a groovy REI kind of a color? I'll go with that. That probably isn't going to look good, but that's okay. And then to get it to actually apply to it, you have to click Assign. There we go. So there's my tent door. Cute. Hit A to deselect everything. There we go. Go into rendered mode. Aww. Okay. Question 27. If I want to select more than one face, what keyboard shortcut do I use? Oh, is it Shift right click, Control right click, Shift left click, or Control left click? Well, just go over to Blender and find out. So let's go ahead and go back into edit mode, and let's go into solid mode, and let's see if we can select more than one face by holding down Shift and right clicking. Yes, we can. Here we go. And question 28. What mesh primitive shape was used to make the donut? Oh, well, that's when you'd have to go right into Blender and make sure that you know what your shapes are. So I'm just going to bring my cursor over here and start adding shapes. Oh, it's not a plane. Is it a cube? Nope. Is it a circle? No, that's not it. The torus? Oh, look, that's the shape of a donut. That's what we're looking for. So what mesh primitive was used to make the donut? The torus. Good. Question 29. What mesh primitive shape was used to make the floor and walls? The floor and walls. What shape would you use to make floor and walls? Would you use a plane, a cube, a sphere, a cylinder, or a torus? I've done it like 18 times in this video, right? You can figure that out. And then what mesh primitive was used to make the green part of the pencil? Plane, a circle, a cylinder, or a torus. All right, so hopefully you have 100% on that now and you learned some really fascinating information.